Venezuelan killers, street gangs, occupying the town with MK-47s. I know that gun very well. I got to know it very well. I've become an expert on guns quickly. My sons know guns. They couldn't believe what the story they heard. We must stop the glorification of violence in our society. This includes the gruesome and grisly video games that are now commonplace. It is too easy today for troubled youth to surround themselves with a culture that celebrates violence. We must stop or substantially reduce this, and it has to begin immediately.
Some of y'all were around in the late 60s. You remember that, what that was about. The countercultural revolution, Woodstock and drugs and peace and free love and all that, but more about the undermining of the foundations of religion and morality. Because if you remember, in the late 60s, we invented things like no-fault divorce laws. We invented the sexual revolution. We invented radical feminism. We invented legalized abortion in 1973. Where the state, the government, sanctions the killing of the unborn. We know that we're living in a completely amoral society. And so people say, how can a young person go into their schoolhouse and open fire on their classmates? Because we've taught a whole generation, a couple of generations now of Americans, that there is no right and wrong.
Kids are exposed to all kinds of horrible stuff nowadays, too. I look back and I think about the horrible stuff that they hear when they listen to rap music, the video games that they watch from a really early age with all of this horrible violence and stuff. And I just think that, and they have this access to the internet on a regular basis, which is, is just not good for kids, I don't think. And so I don't know what's going on, but I think we need to stop at this particular point. Nobody needs to be pointing fingers too much right now, but we need to look at why did this happen? How could this happen? And what's wrong with our society? What's wrong with the culture in this country?
Trump and his Republican friends or followers will have you believe that rap music and video games are responsible. Rap music and video games are responsible for the gun violence in this country.
The minorities and non-minorities, in this country at least, are not being educated properly, and they're being left on their own devices, single-family homes, and the kids are left on their own, and they're exposed to too many elements that my generation was not exposed to.
What kind of elements?
Rap music. The black guys I hung around with, black people I hung around with, it was rhythm and blues and jazz.
So the issue is rap music, not the 400 million guns.
No, you keep getting back to 400 million guns.
Not the guns, not the fact that we got 400 million plus guns in population. Has nothing to do with it. That's not the problem at all. It is video games, Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, or any video game for that matter.
Somebody knows that you have a gun in your house, they say, let's go after somebody else. People put signs under this gun, or we have, some of them actually spell the kind of a gun they have. We have an AK-47 inside. And people say, you know what, let's just, and I knew about an AK-47 from a few weeks ago, and the AR-15, I know about that one too, I know a lot. But you know what? You have a lot of bad people out there, and you can't, just can't be a one-way street.
Here's what I don't understand. How is it that black culture gets dragged in this conversation? All the time, it's something to do with black. The whiteness. I sound like a broken record at this point, but I only sound like a broken record because Trump and his minions continue to evoke blackness in a negative light. It is them who are advocating for people to be able to own any rifle or gun that they want.
The Second Amendment, it is absolute. All the regulations that bureaucrats make, the laws that bureaucrats are trying to make, the unconstitutional laws that are passed by the federal government, the state legislatures, they make our country less safe. Gun-free zones are the most dangerous places in our country. The Second Amendment is absolute, and it's here to stay. A recent report states that Americans own 46% of the world's guns. I think we need to get our numbers up, boys and girls.
Mass shootings in schools are not because of video games. It's because of access to automatic rifles, semi-automatic rifles, readily available everywhere in this country. And Republicans are afraid to admit that it is not rap music. Just like Clint Eastwood and all of his violent movies aren't responsible for violence. Notice how it's never Westerns or Bruce Willis or movies, any movies with them that are responsible for violence, but it's rap music and characters on a video game. No, I would say it's characters from the National Rifle Association. I would say it's characters from the Republican Party. It's candidates, politicians putting pictures of other people on targets and shooting at them in commercials. I would say that's more responsible for violence. It's the rhetoric coming from the right that's responsible. And speaking of responsibility and responsibleness, where the hell does it exist in the Republican Party in 2024? So much so that you all are just out here losing your damn minds. Trump's deranged and so are y'all.